The criminal jurisdiction of Philippine courts can seem like a labyrinth, with specific rules dictating which court hears what case, when, and why. Understanding this intricate system is not just academic, it's the fundamental groundwork for legal practitioners. Today, we're going to demystify this complex topic, drawing insights from Tranquil, Gervasio, Salvador III's comprehensive criminal procedure book.
That's right, Isabella. Before we dive into the specifics of each court, it is crucial to grasp some overarching principles of jurisdiction. Jurisdiction over the subject matter, for instance, is the court's power to hear a particular class of cases. It's solely conferred by law, meaning neither the parties nor the accused can waive it or grant it to a court.
So it's not about what the parties agree to, but what the law dictates. And I recall the text emphasizes that this jurisdiction is determined by the allegations in the complaint or information itself, not by the evidence presented during trial. This really underscores the importance of a well-drafted legal document from the outset.
Absolutely. And a key principle here is adherence of jurisdiction. Once a court validly acquires jurisdiction over a case, it retains that jurisdiction until its final determination, even if new laws are enacted that would normally place similar cases under a different court, unless the new statute explicitly states otherwise. It prevents cases from being endlessly shunted between different tribunals.
That makes sense for continuity. Now, let's talk about the first-level courts. For many law students, the metropolitan trial courts, municipal trial courts in cities, municipal trial courts, and municipal circuit trial courts often feel like the starting point of their jurisdictional journey. What's their primary role in criminal cases?
For these first-level courts, their exclusive original jurisdiction covers two main areas. First, all violations of city or municipal ordinances committed within their territorial jurisdiction. Second, and this is critical, all offenses punishable with imprisonment not exceeding 6 years. This is irrespective of the fine or other imposable penalties, including civil liability.
6 years, got it. But there's a specific carve-out for criminal negligence, right? Even if the penalty falls within that 6-year threshold, where do offenses involving damage to property through criminal negligence land?
For those, these first-level courts retain exclusive original jurisdiction. However, it's not a blanket rule. The text highlights an important exception. If a case, despite the 6-year penalty, falls under the exclusive original jurisdiction of the regional trial courts or the Sandiganbayan by specific provisions of law, then those higher courts take precedence.
Can you give us an example of where this exception might come into play, where a seemingly first-level court offense actually goes to a higher court?
Certainly. The text points out that if the only penalty for an offense is a fine, and that fine exceeds P4,000, then jurisdiction shifts to the regional trial court. Another example, even if the penalty is under 6 years, cases like libel, election offenses, or intellectual property rights violations are typically handled by RTCs because special laws specifically vest jurisdiction in them, overriding the general rule for lower courts.
That clarifies the interplay between general and special laws. And what about their special jurisdiction?
The text notes that in the absence of all RTC judges in a province or city, any judge from these first-level courts may hear and decide petitions for habeas corpus or applications for bail in criminal cases. This is a crucial function when higher court judges are unavailable.
Moving up the judicial ladder, we arrive at the regional trial courts, or RTCs. They seem to have a much broader scope. What is their exclusive original jurisdiction?
The RTCs have exclusive original jurisdiction in all criminal cases not specifically assigned to any other court, tribunal, or body, with the Sandiganbayan being a notable exception. This generally means offenses where the imposable penalty exceeds 6 years imprisonment. If the penalty is only a fine and exceeds P4,000, the RTC also takes jurisdiction.
So the 6-year mark is still a crucial dividing line, but then there are special laws that empower RTCs regardless of the penalty. The book mentions drug-related cases. How does that work?
Indeed. Under RA 9165, the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act, jurisdiction over drug-related cases is exclusively vested with the RTCs, regardless of the imposable penalty. This is a classic example of a special law superseding the general jurisdictional rules. Similarly, election offenses, most intellectual property cases, agrarian cases, crimes against humanity, and cases involving minors or domestic violence are all exclusively handled by RTCs, or Specialized Family Courts, which are RTC branches, often regardless of the penalty threshold.
That's a significant detail, especially for law students to remember. Special laws can create exceptions to the general penalty-based jurisdictional rules. Beyond original jurisdiction, RTCs also have an appellate role, correct?
Yes, they do. RTCs exercise appellate jurisdiction over all cases decided by the metropolitan, municipal, and municipal circuit trial courts within their territorial areas. These appeals are decided based on the entire record of the proceedings from the lower court, along with any submitted memoranda or briefs.
Are there also specialized RTC branches, similar to how some are designated for family courts?
Yes, the Supreme Court can designate specific RTC branches to handle exclusively criminal cases, juvenile and domestic relations cases, agrarian cases, urban land reform cases, or other special cases to ensure efficient administration of justice. This is another layer of specialized jurisdiction within the RTC framework.
Next on our list are the Sharia courts. The provided text, however, doesn't delve into their criminal jurisdiction. Can you briefly clarify their role in the Philippine judicial system, particularly for criminal matters, even if it's not detailed in our source?
While our source material doesn't cover Sharia courts, it's important to acknowledge their place. The Philippine legal system includes Sharia courts, specifically Sharia circuit courts, Sharia district courts, and the Sharia appellate court, which primarily handle personal, family, and property laws involving Muslim Filipinos. They do have criminal jurisdiction, but this is generally limited to offenses defined under the Code of Muslim Personal Laws, which are often related to violations of those personal laws. Their jurisdiction is quite distinct from the civil and common law courts we're discussing.
Thank you for that important clarification. Now, moving to the Sandiganbayan, often referred to as the anti-graft court. What defines its exclusive original jurisdiction, especially concerning the rank of the officials involved?
The Sandiganbayan's exclusive original jurisdiction is specific. It covers violations of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, the Forfeiture of Ill-Gotten Wealth Act, and certain chapters of the revised penal code concerning bribery. A key qualifier is that the accused must be high-ranking government officials, generally those occupying positions classified as grade 27 or higher under the Compensation and Position Classification Act. This also includes members of Congress, the judiciary, constitutional commissions, military colonels, and GOCC presidents, among others.
So the who is as important as the what in determining Sandiganbayan's jurisdiction. What if the offense is not directly one of those specified, but is still committed by a high-ranking official?
The Sandiganbayan still has jurisdiction if other offenses or felonies, whether simple or complex, are committed by these high-ranking officials in relation to their office. This relation to office element is crucial. It also handles civil and criminal cases related to ill-gotten wealth under the executive orders from 1986.
Are there any instances where, even if a high-ranking official is involved, the case might not fall under the Sandiganbayan's original jurisdiction?
Yes, there are exceptions. If the information does not allege any damage to the government or any bribery, or if the alleged damage or bribery arising from the same transactions does not exceed 1 million pesos, then the regional trial court retains exclusive original jurisdiction. Also, if the public officers involved are not grade 27 or higher, even if the offense is office-related, jurisdiction would then lie with the proper RTC or MTC, depending on the imposable penalty.
So it's not just the position, but also the nature and amount of the offense that can shift jurisdiction away from the Sandiganbayan. And for its appellate function?
The Sandiganbayan exercises exclusive appellate jurisdiction over final judgments, resolutions, or orders of regional trial courts, whether those RTCs were exercising their own original jurisdiction or their appellate jurisdiction in cases that could have fallen under the Sandiganbayan's purview. It also has exclusive original jurisdiction over extraordinary writs, like mandamus or certiorari, but only in aid of its appellate jurisdiction.
Let's move to the Court of Tax Appeals, or CTA. It sounds like a highly specialized court. What's its criminal jurisdiction, particularly regarding tax and customs violations?
The CTA has exclusive original jurisdiction over all criminal offenses arising from violations of the National Internal Revenue Code, the Tariff and Customs Code, and other laws administered by the BIR, or Bureau of Customs. However, there's a vital threshold. If the principal amount of taxes and fees claimed is less than 1 million pesos, or if there's no specific amount claimed, then regular courts like the MTC or RTC will hear the case, and the CTA's jurisdiction becomes appellate.
So the 1 million peso threshold is key. If it's below that, it's not the CTA initially. And what about the civil aspect of these criminal tax cases?
The text explicitly states that the criminal action and the corresponding civil action for the recovery of civil liability for taxes and penalties are always simultaneously instituted with and jointly determined by the CTA. There's no right to reserve the filing of the civil action separately from the criminal action in these cases.
That's a very specific procedural rule. What about the CTA's appellate jurisdiction in criminal matters?
The CTA exercises exclusive appellate jurisdiction over appeals from judgments, resolutions, or orders of RTCs in tax cases they originally decided. It also hears petitions for review from RTCs exercising their appellate jurisdiction over tax cases that originated in the metropolitan, municipal, and municipal circuit trial courts.
Shifting to the Court of Appeals, what's its unique role in the criminal justice system?
The Court of Appeals exercises original jurisdiction to issue writs such as mandamus, prohibition, certiorari, habeas corpus, and quo warranto, and other auxiliary writs. These can be in aid of its appellate jurisdiction or even independently. For appellate jurisdiction, it has exclusive appellate jurisdiction over all final judgments, resolutions, or orders from regional trial courts and quasi-judicial agencies.
And this is where the CA really acts as the primary reviewing body for RTC decisions, before cases potentially reach the Supreme Court.
Precisely. The CA is mandated to try cases, conduct hearings, receive evidence, and perform all acts necessary to resolve factual issues raised in cases under its original and appellate jurisdiction. This includes the power to grant and conduct new trials or further proceedings. Appeals at this level are supposed to be continuous and completed within 3 months, unless extended by the Chief Justice.
There's also a mention of automatic review. How does that fit in, especially with the prohibition on the death penalty?
Historically, cases where the RTC imposed the death penalty were subject to automatic review by the Court of Appeals. While the death penalty is now prohibited, the procedural structure remains, specifically that cases involving reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment from the RTC are now reviewed by the Court of Appeals before they may be elevated to the Supreme Court. This is a crucial step to ensure utmost circumspection in cases with severe penalties, as emphasized in cases like People versus Mateo.
Finally, we reach the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court. What is its exclusive original jurisdiction in criminal cases?
The Supreme Court has exclusive original jurisdiction over cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls. Beyond that, it exercises concurrent original jurisdiction with the Court of Appeals and, in some instances, with the RTC over petitions for certiorari, prohibition, mandamus, quo warranto, and habeas corpus.
So, while it's the highest court, its original jurisdiction is quite narrow and specific. Most of its work would then be appellate. What does its appellate jurisdiction cover in criminal cases?
On the appellate side, the Supreme Court reviews, revises, reverses, modifies, or affirms final judgments and orders of lower courts. This includes cases where the constitutionality or validity of laws or treaties is in question, cases involving the legality of taxes, and cases where the jurisdiction of any lower court is an issue. Crucially, for criminal law, it has appellate jurisdiction over all criminal cases in which the penalty imposed is reclusion perpetua or higher. It also hears cases where only an error or question of law is involved.
And the Supreme Court can also sit en banc for certain critical cases.
Yes, the Supreme Court en banc handles matters of significant legal or national importance. This includes cases on constitutionality, novel questions of law, disciplinary cases for judges or lawyers, cases that could modify or reverse existing Supreme Court doctrines, and cases with conflicting decisions from its own divisions. This ensures consistency and authoritative pronouncements on the most complex legal issues.
The criminal jurisdiction of Philippine courts is indeed a complex but critical area of study. From the local level MTCs handling ordinances and offenses with lighter penalties, to the specialized RTCs, the anti-graft Sandiganbayan, the tax-focused CTA, the appellate CA, and finally the Supreme Court as the highest judicial authority. Each court plays a distinct and vital role. Our discussion today, based on Tranquil Gervasio Salvador III's criminal procedure, has really illuminated how the who, what, and even how much determine which court will hear a case. Understanding these nuances is absolutely essential for anyone navigating the legal landscape in the Philippines. If this discussion clarified the intricacies of criminal jurisdiction for you, share this episode with fellow law students or anyone interested in the Philippine legal system.